What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys. This weekend's mostly going to be underground oriented, and we're kicking things off with one that's kind of personal to me a little bit. I am talking about the latest offering from Cincinnati-based thrash metal band Acid Mass with Worship, and I have an advanced copy right here because, funny enough, the day I'm recording this, which is August 1st, so Thursday night, I just got back from the Exciter, Midnight, Wraith, and Hellwitch show, and the main guy behind Acid Mass, Ben Pickett's, he recognized me at the show because he commented on my Under the Radar episode when I talked about the debut album Agonizer last year. I think it was like September of last year, so almost a year ago. And he heard that I was going to be at that Exciter show in Cincinnati at Legends, and he wanted to meet up, and he had something cool to give me, and he gave me both of Acid Mass's albums. So, Ben, if you're watching this, and I know you probably are, again, thank you so much. You didn't have to do it, but it's much appreciated that you did do it. Now I think the best way I could pay you back is if I buy a shirt, because you kick ass, and it was cool hanging out with you at that show last night, well, the day I'm recording this. But now let's talk about Acid Mass the band. So for those of you who don't know, this is a one-man thrash metal band. And again, it's kind of like a hodgepodge of all kinds of thrash. It's got like some classic metal touches, some punk, some speed metal, but there's also some like Bay Area thrash elements, maybe a tad German thrash, blackened thrash, death thrash, and I will say this album, kind of more so than on Agonizer, has a little bit of crossover thrash to it in terms of like the more punk forward moments that show up on here. So basically, this is a sample platter of everything thrash. So without further ado, to talk about the songs, kicking off with The Mouth of Hell. After some demon noises, you get right into like sinister melodies that made me think of like bands like Slayer and Testament. And then it just gets into hyper-aggressive, hyper-speed thrash, and it's energetic. And Ben's vocals, I commented on how nasty the vocals were on Agonizer. I think they're even more nasty. He's almost kind of channeling Athanar from Midnight a little bit. Like, it's kind of got that same delivery to it, that like, just bark it out, all guns blazing, let's just fucking go for the throat and cut the jugulator. But yeah, musically though, it's kind of very reminiscent of Hellripper. Like, Hellripper is kind of all over this album, and that's not a bad thing because I love Hellripper and James McBain, good friend of mine, which we'll talk more about that later on. But yeah, right away, Mouth of Hell kind of sets the pace for this album, and actually, funny enough, this album's shorter than Agonizer. Agonizer was like 12, 13 tracks, and it was 33 minutes. This is only 10 tracks, just a smidgen under 29 minutes, so perhaps adding more to the songs. But then you get into a track like War Machine, starts off really chuggy, kind of like Wraith, and dare I even say Enforced, and High Command. Like, it's got a little bit of that like chuggy, almost hardcore groove metal kind of chug to it, or even death metal a little bit, and then some like big Slayer-esque dive bombs, and then it unleashes into Slayer worship with the riffs and the drumming. And I gotta say, like, Ben's a hell of a musician. Like, he's doing all of this, vocals, guitar, bass, and drums, and he doesn't phone anything in. Like, even on the drums, like, he's doing some cool fills, kind of channeling his inner Dave Lombardo a little bit, especially on War Machine on the double bass. Like, he's just going for it when it came down to the drums. And then you get into Nuclear Exorcism. This one is where you start to get a little bit of that more kind of crossover or punk-driven style, where this song kind of feels like if it was a faster Midnight song, but with classic metal riffs that you would hear in Hellripper. And there's blast beats, which I don't remember. It's been a while since I listened to Agonizer, but I don't remember there being blast beats on that album. Here, on this track, and hell, I'll even say in the following track, Stench of Death and Hell from Above, all three of those songs have blast beats, which Ben sure as hell can play blast beats a lot better than I ever could. And I'm a shitty drummer, but I'm not saying he's bad. He's awesome, but I'm just saying, like, he definitely smokes me. And it's not even a contest. But Stench of Death, this one stood out to me personally because riff-wise, kind of reminded me a lot of 80s Metallica, like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. Like, it has those, like, it has a little bit of that, like, down-picking energy to it when it's not, like, hyper-fast. But when it does get hyper-fast, it still carries a little bit of 80s Metallica to it. Hell from Above, which features Matt Sokol from Wraith, the frontman and guitarist of Wraith. And I believe he's doing just the solos. I don't remember hearing his vocals. If I did, they sound pretty close to Ben. But this song feels more closer to, like, evil classic heavy metal. Like, it's got Iron Maiden gallops, even a bass line that feels like something Steve Harris would have done, but it just sounds darker. But then it does turn into more of a mid-tempo song, but then you still do get some cool thrash towards the end. Now, Final Surrender, this one definitely felt like the most Bay Area-oriented song, like Slayer worship, but there's also a little bit of Exodus coming in here on some of these riffs. Inferno Queen, featuring Nicholas Burks from Savage Master, a live member of Savage Master, which that's a band I've not heard of. And this song kind of feels like part two to Nuclear Exorcism, where it's like Midnight and Hell Ripper combined, and it's sleazy, probably the sleaziest song on the entire album. After all, when it's called Inferno Queen, it makes you imply, oh my god, you're about to get in bed with the hottest chick in the world, and she happens to be the queen of, fuck it, I'll throw out Queen of Canada or something. Just something stupid, just to get a joke in here. But yeah, just sleazy and fun. Then you get into the song Worship. The riff and the melody that starts this one off, definitely Testament oriented. Then it does get a little bit more on the punky side a little bit before it just turns into Sodom, like early Sodom, like Obsessed by Cruelty, little bit of Persecution Mania, like just coming together into one nice, neat little song here on the title track. Then we get to the instrumental, Return to Shadow Moses, which evil opening dive bomb into a chuggy breakdown with melodic progressions. Then when it gets fast, it's almost Dark Angel or Sadus or Sepultura levels of speed. Like, it's so fast, and insane lead work by both Ash Thomas from Faith Extractor and James McBain from Hellripper, and both of these guys are just delivering insane lead after insane lead, which, by the way, the overall lead work on this album, it's shred-tastic and dive bomb-tastic. Like, everything about sleazy, thrash, what have you, it's all here. And then you end off with something unique. The final track, Dying Breath, the longest track of the album at 4 minutes. This one's almost like doom metal. Like, it's mostly on the doomy side with some like evil harmonies on the guitars, but it's mostly doomy. You do get some cool shred on here, and then in the second half you do get a little bit more of a speedy gallop and even triplet chugs. Like, I actually forgot to mention an awesome triplet chug on Stench of Death, but Dying Breath has like death metal triplet chugs going before it goes back into the doom. And we end off on a hell of a note with a slower song on a relatively punky and fast sounding album. Now, as far as any gripes I had about this album, it was mostly the fact that a lot of the songs, especially the shorter songs, are like in the 2-minute range. It's like it'll end with an awesome lead, and then it's just over. I think it would have helped if Ben would have added like one more verse and one more chorus, and then end off with like a big dive bomb lead or shreddy lead, and then close the song. So like maybe another 40 seconds altogether on some of these songs, because it does feel like maybe some of the meat got trimmed off, especially when after you hear an awesome lead, it's like, man, I want to hear another verse and another chorus, and then it's over, and it's like, it was awesome, but we could have used a little bit more. But that's a minor nitpick. And then, of course, even like in the song War Machine, does kind of end abruptly, which I was kind of like, there maybe could have had a more smoother ending to that song, at least in my opinion. And then when it comes down to the production, like Ben's doing most of this, but I know he's got some help with mastering. It does sound like in the masters, like the final master, it sounded a little bit quiet, like it could have been upped a couple of notches in volume. And then at times, the snare drum, especially on like the more mid tempo parts, sound a little bit thin, but that's a very minor gripe right there. But overall, every song fucking ripped on here, and I'm not just saying that because Ben's become a friend of mine, but objectively, this is some fun, sleazy thrash metal right here that kind of feels closer, I would say, to blackened thrash, I would say. So overall, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. I would say it's perhaps almost as good as Agonizer. If not, I might like Agonizer just a tiny bit more, just because I had more criticisms on this one than I did on Agonizer. But still, this is a hell of an album, and I will definitely be coming back to this one quite often, and could make my year-end list. I don't know, this year is just so full of competition, it's going to be tough. But anyways, man, that was the longest review I've done in a little while, but I wanted to do this one very special for Ben from Acid Mass because it deserved it. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.